Hello, everybody. This is Driftwood Conversations, and I'm Hilary Sloan. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Joan Hangarter, known to many as Joan of Angels. Joan has spent more than 4 decades working with people at moments of transition in their lives, beginning as a chiropractor and evolving into a guide for intuitive and visionary women. Her work explores how people learn to listen for deeper clarity when they are standing at a crossroads. In this conversation, we move beyond methods and titles and talk about the human journey that leads somebody to dedicate their life to helping others find their way. Hello, Joan.
I'm so excited to meet you, Hilary, be on the show with you. Thank you so much.
So give me your whole name and the name you go by and who you are and what you do.
That's so funny. We're not started so simply then. So I'm Dr. Joan Hangarter, also known as Joan of Angels. What I do is I work with visionary, intuitive women navigating pivotal life, personal or leadership transitions. And I help them regain discernment, begin to trust their judgment again, allow them to move forward with clarity, composure, decisions, really aligned with their next steps.
That's evolved over time, am I right?
Well, I should have put, for the last 45 years plus, I have been helping people, and especially women, I focus a lot on women, step into their best lives and heal their body, mind, and spirit as a chiropractor and as a consultant, as a counselor.
That's what I was going to ask you, is you were doing chiropractic work before.
I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and I have a master's in counseling. So I've just been working with people on all levels, body, mind, and spirit, to align to get the best results in their life, to live their best life.
Where did you come from? Where did you grow up?
That's such a funny question. Where do I come from? So I grew up in New York, Long Island, and
What part?
the 5 towns. Have you ever heard of them? The South Shore of the 5 towns.
I'm from Plainview.
Oh, yeah, you were a little bit beyond us.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, so that's where I grew up, and I went off to college. I went to Boston University. And then when I was 25, my dad had died, and I received my master's in counseling, and I picked up and I moved to California. And I moved into an ashram, a spiritual community in California. I'd never done anything like that, but somehow I heard a call. And so my life has been about following the different calls that I've gotten, the guidance. And I moved to California, moved into the ashram, and then proceeded to study spirituality at that point.
What area was this ashram?
That was in Los Angeles. It was called the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, John Roger. And John Roger went on to form Santa Monica Spiritual University.
Right.
And I had my master's in counseling, so they liked me. I was going to help them set that up. But instead, I went to chiropractic school, became a chiropractor, and then had a vision that I was here to heal and inspire millions of people. And so by the time I was 30, I just knew what I was here to do and followed that guidance.
John Rogers also had a holistic clinic in Santa Monica, which I used to go to.
Oh, yes. Well, and there was an acupuncturist there and a chiropractor there. So when I lived in the ashram, I did work for that clinic. Well, I don't know if it's the same clinic. I don't know if it's the same acupuncture or chiropractor. But yes, so I did work at that clinic on and off. Was that the inspiration to become a chiropractor? Kind of. But I had been to a chiropractor my whole life. From the time I was 13 on, my dad had brought me to a chiropractor. So I was already familiar with chiropractic care. And so it was really easy for me to make that decision. I went to one of John Rogers' seminars. You had to say to the universe, what do I want in my life? What's my intention for tonight? I said, tell me what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I heard a voice that said, go to chiropractic school. So the very next day, I enrolled in chiropractic school. I followed instructions. I went to chiropractic school. I became a chiropractor. And then I moved up to Northern California and opened up my practice. And the rest is history.
How did that go with your family? Did they support you?
Well, my father had died, and actually that made the decision easier because my dad would never have supported me being a chiropractor. I was supposed to be an elementary school teacher. That was it. And in a way, I felt blessed that he had passed, which gave me the freedom. My mom was thrilled. I couldn't get my uncle to give me a loan because he thought I should have a job in downtown Los Angeles and look for a husband. So I guess I didn't get a lot of support.
Was it that calling that was inside you that gave you the resilience to go past any obstacles?
Yes, and Hillary, that calling still is within me and motivates me to go beyond what mere mortals do in my commitment. So, yes, so my vision at 30, when I moved up north and had opened up my chiropractic office, it was kind of simultaneous. I went to this visioning event, and sure enough, I'm laying down and I see this vision. I'm in the Coliseum. I'm standing there on a platform dressed as an angel. There's an angel behind me. It's so pure, angelic. And millions of people are crawling or walking or being wheeled in a wheelchair in front of us. And we're just doing that beautiful angelic thing, waving our wands, and then they'd pass us by and get up and be healed. And this was the vision I had. And I heard this voice that said, "You're here to heal and inspire millions of people. That's your life's work. Get on with it, girl." And I built a very large practice. By the way, as a chiropractor, I was very successful. And what was motivating me is how can I reach the most number of people? And in the end, I couldn't figure out how to adjust more than one at a time. But that's always been my motivation, to heal and inspire, uplift, and help people remember why they're here, their purpose.
You said you still do chiropractic work.
Well, no, I was injured in the late 1990s, early 2000, and I quit my practice. I had to stop practicing because I was injured. And my life took a very interesting turn. I ended up suing my insurance company, my disability company, and my case changed case law across the country. So hundreds of thousands of people were able to get their benefits because I fought the insurance company. So there was that period of my life, and then I pivoted and I started writing books on miracles, and this second part of my life took off.
And how does your work show up now? What do you hold Zoom classes or in-person classes? What does it look like?
Well, right now I hold Zoom classes. I also speak on actual stages when I can. That's my favorite thing to do, is to speak. Honestly, I tell everyone I'm a speaker slut because I love to speak on stage. And I love motivating, inspiring, uplifting, and healing. So I do speak, and I do in-person events. I also speak up in Yucca. I've spoken a few times at the Yucca Spiritual Center, and hopefully I can find some places to speak up there, because now I'm tuned into, there's a whole new group of people up in your area in the high desert. They seem to be really highly spiritual.
Well, they have been for a long time. I've been here 16, 17 years now and came with a spiritual group. So I'm the only one that actually moved here, but certainly we set energies and everyone I met was inclined that way. Now, when you work with people, what does that look like?
So when I work with people, it's a combination of coaching, intuitive guidance, discernment strategies. So I'd say that that's what it looks like. I work with people, really depends. I have several coaching programs, 3-month and 6-month programs that I work with people regularly to help. And so it also includes activation. So I'll activate when necessary, guided meditations, affirmations, really very unique processes that I've designed over the years from working with all my clients.
When you say you design them, does it come from a spiritual alignment, I'm assuming?
You know, years ago, my cousin was a famous author, and she once said that she didn't read books while she was writing. And I thought about that, and in the end, I realized once I started writing my first book on miracles, I didn't want to read what anyone else had to say about miracles because I'm a Pisces, and Pisces are like a sponge. I didn't want to read things about miracles and then think they were mine, and then plagiarize in a certain way, or even if it's in my own words, I needed it to come straight from source. So that's what I did. All my work has been channeled through direct wisdom.
What does your day look like? Do you meditate or do you work with people right away? How does it unfold for you?
Well, Hillary, it depends on what stage I'm in, literally. But honestly, I really like to start with a cup of coffee. I like to sit. I'll either journal. There have been periods in my life where I'll read my own cards every day and maybe meditate and take notes, listen to music and take notes. It could change a little bit depending on the day, but it usually has to do with a little bit of morning reflection with my morning coffee. So that's how I start. And then it just depends if I have clients or other activities.
Is there anything else in your life that you like doing that you follow
That's
movies?
such a good question. Well, yes, so the last few years, when I moved to the desert in 2015, I always called myself an extroverted introvert. When I moved to the desert in 2015, I became a huge introvert and I had started painting. My guides had told me to paint 33 angels in 30 days back in 2013. And then I was told to move to the desert so I could hear. And so, being a good listener, I packed up and I found a cute little house in Desert Hot Springs and I lived here. And I spent most of my time painting. So, painting became a huge passion for me. So my passions are painting, my passions are speaking. There are lots of things I do that I wouldn't call work, but they are work. Like I love doing reading. So on Sunday, I was invited to meet a few people. So they're new women. I'd never met them. So I brought a deck of cards. So before long, I'm like, we're just reading cards. Those are things I like to do. But recently, on an athletic side, my son has introduced me to golf. My mother left my sister and I a pair of golf clubs. She died in 1986. So the last time these golf clubs were used by my mother was in 1986. So every time I play, I'm a beginner. I feel my mother coming through me. It's like really a cool feeling. I never thought I'd be a woman who played golf. I had a judgment about it being, I don't know, stereotyped. And also, I've actually recently started meeting new people. So like your friend Hester, met her at the expo, but I feel like I've turned on my extrovert switch, that I'm actually going out and having lunch with people. I'll come up and have lunch with you. I mean, really meeting new
Great.
people and making new connections. And that has a huge switch for me, Hillary. Even though I do all these other things, I'm an executive producer for the New Living Expo this year. And I mean, I have a lot of roles I fulfill.
Just as you were talking, I kept thinking about younger women that are coming into this work and following things, and how would they balance their life? What would you tell them, to have a life and also pursue spiritual work?
Well, spiritual work has to come from the inside. So I can't actually tell people to pursue spiritual work, because if they're not ready or if they haven't had that calling, it's not innate to them. That I don't necessarily do. If I did it for anyone, I'd try to push my daughter, who finally told me she put all the crystals, she took them out of her top drawer and she put them in a bowl now, and they're on top of her dresser. Okay. So what I have come to is people come to spirituality and awakening really according to codes that they actually imprinted before they got here. Your soul knows what you're here to do. Your ego may not, but your soul actually knows and carries those codes of what you're here to do. And the key is how do I access, or how do you access those codes to find out and step into those gifts that you came here with?
What did it look like for you, that activation?
I have long answers to your short little questions.
It's perfect. This is,
Yeah. Okay. So I have been told I'm a 33-degree walk-in. A
Yeah.
walk-in is either an extraterrestrial soul or an angelic soul that may take over a body that has given it full permission to kind of move out and let you move in. So it's basic as that. So there are people, and I have several friends who are full walk-ins. Who they are stepped aside, and who they became is a completely new person. So their old body got healed. Everything shifted. They ended up having to change marriages and change lives. The only thing that's constant is their children for these people who are walking. So I have a friend who does these sessions. I said, okay, I don't understand. I'm not the same person I was as a kid. There's just no way. I'm very different. I have those qualities of a walk-in, that your whole self is different. But I can't attribute it to one time. So she looked at me and she said, Joan, you're a 33-degree walk-in. That means your soul had 33 traumatic upgrades to bring it to this higher vibrational integration frequency. So she suggested I go back and look at my life, at all of those places that might have been that portal or that activation to open up the next level for me. So it started with childhood. And most starved children or angelic children have tough lives when they start. Now, I think that happens because I think that the dark side knows you're coming. They go, Hillary's on her way. Joan is on her way. These two women are going to change, the planet, and their vibration is so needed here. So what happens? They meet you with force, negativity. There's the agent of the dark. So you end up in a life that's more difficult, making it very hard to access memories of who you are. So in my case, my parents had this antiquated doctor. What was his name? Dr. Lipton or something. He told my parents to tie me up, tie my hands and feet up, which they did when I was in my crib. And they had me tied up, which somehow was to keep me from messing myself up or with my, whatever. So that was my introduction to childhood. So I became very claustrophobic and hid in closets for most of my life. And there I am, a few years ago trying to get my show out, and that instinct of mine to run and hide was right there, move forward, run, hide. That kind of is the structure of my leadership over the years. And that's why it really took me so long to come out, because I'd come out and then I'd say, oh, it's not working right, and I'd hide again. So gradually, slowly, but surely, years later, here I am.
Do you feel like you're fully out now?
Oh, what a trick question. It's a trick question because, yes, I do. Actually, I keep thinking I've reached that 33rd level. The last 2 weekends ago or 3 weekends ago when I met Hester at the Conscious Life Expo, I realized that my old Dr. Jones self had come back. Don't know what triggered it exactly, but Dr. Joan is here. I started off my work career as Dr. Joan, and now Dr. Joan is back. So I would say that I'm close to that integration.
I'm asking you some of these things because they're ringing true to me too. And so I'm really curious. I mean, not only for myself, but for everybody. Like, we all come to this in different ways and different ideas of what spirituality is, what life is. I was in a writing group yesterday and heard some really painful memoirs that people read out loud of their lives. I realized there's no right way to do life. There's no perfect life. And so everybody's experience now to me is so exciting to hear because you got a little piece that I don't have.
Well, that's true. That's so brilliant, Hillary, because we all are part of this greater whole. Like, I think of Gaia as an orchestra, the planet. It's a beautiful orchestra. And all the sentient beings on the planet, including humanities, us humans, are the musicians. We're the instrument. And so if you tune up your instrument so you're aligned between maybe heaven and earth, then your note will come out pure and the symphony, the orchestra will sound great. But if you're not listening, and you're out of alignment, you're going to be out of tune. Your instrument is out of tune. It's not in the right vibration, and it lowers the frequency of the orchestra. So we all actually have a role to play in this ascension process.
All of us. Yeah.
All of us have a role to play.
I've really been getting that. So it's making me look at where I might have a judgment of somebody, where someone's at. Let it go quickly.
Right. Right. And it gets down to love. Just really gets down to love. Love your enemies. Love your shadows. Love the dark. That's, like even that, to love even those things we can't change.
Where do you think we are in consciousness? Are we, is the new generations less conscious, or is this all part of something bigger?
I don't know if I have my finger on it in the ways that I would like to. I know that people are waking up. There's more of a waking up. They're waking up to their right to determine their own health care, their right to determine their own values and their work and where they're going. So people are waking up to that and claiming it. They're also some of them are waking up to the fact that there is something more. But what I noticed, like in the spiritual community, so I've been in the spiritual community for many years, a part of it. And I've been going to Conscious Life Expo, working there since 2010. I've just noticed is that the divisions of society, so I'm trying to find the right way to word this. In 2020, we had a huge group of spiritual people, and they were all aligned. Right and left. There was no politics in that. They were right and left. Even if you were vaccinated or unvaccinated, you still got along with each other because most of those people were thinking unvaccinated and alternative health care at that time. So the spiritual community was very much united. But 2020 came and it's been fractured, and it divided the spiritual community into vaccinated versus unvaccinated, right versus left. And that took one of the most powerful groups, the Ascension group, all focused on this ascension, and already crippled it,
Hmm.
which is pretty shocking. But so there's no simple answer. Yes, the ascension, yes, we're waking up. More people are waking up. More young people are waking up. The younger people have even greater gifts than we do. So when I think of gifts, I think of the intuitive gifts, clairsentience, clairaudient, clairvoyant, all of those clairs. But now they're training kids into telepathy, telekinesis, um, teleportation, things like that. So yes, I would say, and the less controls there are from the outside, the freer our children will be.
Do you think that split you were talking about from 2020, do you think that has a greater purpose?
Well, I never thought of that. So that's first of all a really good question. It's a thoughtful question. There has to be a greater purpose. Okay, and I had to come to terms with the fact that, as my friend Neil, who runs Portal to Ascension that I work with, he's always saying the dark serves the light. I get very mad. The dark. It's like, no, this is horrible, horrible. And he'll just look at me and say, Joan, but look what happens as a result of that. People take their power back. People step up. You have a catastrophe, and now suddenly you're running, a group around the world that's healing people. Just the dark side does have a way of provoking us into the light. Well, for many of us, the conundrum here. But actually, ascension is happening. There's been a split. The timeline has shifted, and apparently, we're separating into two planets, two Earths. Those who are staying where they are in the third dimensional frequency, and those who are rising up to 5D and beyond.
Do you have any idea what that will look like?
Well, it might look like you and I right now.
Yeah, I
They
guess.
say that it happened already.
Ah,
So they say that it's happened. I don't know what that looks like. I don't. In my eyes, I'd like to see, world peace, every just a whole different frequency here on the planet. Will we see it, or will we be the ones that leave? There's all those doorways that are possibilities that are open, Hillary.
yeah. I know that I've been changing so much and I don't know words for it. Time is, I get very confused about time. I think I'm in one day and I'm 4 days later.
Right.
There is a lot happening. I used to write fiction and I had to stop because I wasn't grounded enough. And kept finding myself in trouble. I mean, doing really silly things because I wasn't grounded. And so I spent most of my 40s and on, maybe 50s and on, grounding, grounding, becoming practical, becoming here. Because it's very easy to go up, but not
Right.
so easy to bring it down. And all of a sudden, I'm writing again, and this writing is coming from dreams and pushing me to write it. And I'm finding myself spacing out again. So that's just happening in the last couple of weeks.
Well, talking to me is not going to make you grounded, but I do talk a lot about chop wood, carry water. So my philosophy really is, because I go into another realm too. I mean, I walk into doors. I've had many ungrounded experiences, but I really have been moving into chop wood, carry water. Get things done. Get things done here on the physical so that you can let your mind wander into the other levels, so that you can create without the world around you falling apart. And that is one of the ways, guys, to really handle this period of time, is to really chop wood, carry water, focus on what needs to be done, get your opinion out of it in a certain way. That's the best thing I could say. For instance, so I'm executive producer of the New Living Expo, which is being held in April up in Marin County. So I have this woman who's a volunteer. She calls and she's very excited about volunteering. And I tell her what the position is. It's a room monitor. Honestly, anyone could do it. And she starts telling me, she says, well, I have a master's in this and I have a doctorate in this and I have certifications and all of this. I said, the job is the room monitor. And I'm saying, this is a volunteer position. You're not going to be paid. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a room monitor.
What finally happened with her, though?
Oh, well, I've assigned her to the room.
When you sit quietly with yourself, beyond all of your positions and learning, and do you feel that you're fully realized?
That's a beautiful question. Years and years ago, I moved into my beautiful house in Marin in Nevada, had a pool, basketball court. The kids and I had formed this Miracle Makers Club when we had lost everything to try to manifest it into existence. And that happened. And we manifested this beautiful house, swimming pool, etc. And that launched a lot of my work as the Miracle Makers Club. And it launched me into knowing miracles really, truly manifest. And so I'm not sure exactly the question, but yes, I feel like I have been on a path. And the path has slowly but steadily evolved. And when I say yes, so years later, I heard, a voice that said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. And I said, yes. And as a matter of fact, the way I got to chiropractic school was that I was in a workshop that said, go to chiropractic school. And I said, yes. So what I have learned is that my growth happens when I learn to say yes to the instructions. So when I quiet my mind and I actually can hear the instructions, which is what I teach people now. And that's completely transformed my life because those instructions you get from your guides, from within, from that voice within, are the ones, they know your soul path. They know what your mission is here better than you do. And so I have found that when I say yes to those callings, which I get frequently, it's not like I don't get them. I get them in major turning points in my life. And when I say yes, things unfold very well. When I say no, and I say I'm going to do it my way, well, in 2016, I went to the Bhakti Fest. A guy named Lali was there. He's a palm reader. He's there every year. He reads my palms, and he said, oh, did you know you were supposed to be successful, but you blew it? You were already supposed to be a household name, Joan, and you blew it. And that was in 2016. Why? Because maybe I didn't continue to say yes for certain instructions I was given.
But we have no idea what's happening here on this planet. Maybe you've taken a better path.
Oh, well, then he said, your time will come again and it will be different. And that is true because I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago
Right.
either. But I do believe you're right, Hillary. Everything does unfold ultimately for the highest good. But I had a choice. And at that particular time, whatever I did delayed things that might have happened.
And then there would have been trials and learning in that too, right?
In everything, we are on the School of Planetary Lessons,
Absolutely.
PhD program.
I would like to ask you something if it's okay. You mentioned that you and your kids manifested to get back what you lost. Can you tell me about that experience? The losing.
So in 1998, I was injured and I ended up having to walk away from my practice. And that decision ultimately led me to losing everything. I mean, I became destitute, lost everything, including the kitchen sink. And so I packed my kids in the car and ran to my sister's with nothing. And every night I'd sit there with my children and we started. So I had been teaching people masterminding and all that, manifestation, all that. So I looked around. The only two people I had to do that were with my kids, 8 years old and 10 years old. So every night we would hold hands, we would chant, we would talk about the good things that happened today. We would talk about our goals, our dreams, etc., and what we wanted. And so I think it was the kids that named us. They said, let's call ourselves the Miracle Makers Club. And my daughter says, well, Mom, when we regain it all, because they had complete 100% faith and trust that Mom was going to make this happen. She said, when we finally have our miracles, can we go around the world helping families and children so they don't have to suffer like we did? And that was the basis of my book, The Miracle Makers Club, and then the work that I started to do. That's what launched my work. So we ended up buying a house. After I won that lawsuit, we bought a house that had a basketball court and a pool, which was a good, it's like it's good grounding.
It's also good for you. Exercise and
Oh, it
swim.
was great. It was great. We had a beautiful house and life up there.
Oh, that's right. You're not there anymore.
No,
You're in
that was
Desert House.
then.
That was
Hmm.
then. Phases of our lives. They're wonderful.
In the olden days, we didn't have so many phases. People stayed in the same place, Hillary. You grew up, you got married, you moved down the street, you had children, and then the children grew up and moved down the street, and grandma and grandpa weren't that far. And then we started separating and moving. And that brought more instability to people, maybe more marriages, broken marriages, new identities. I started off, my first career was as a drug abuse counselor on Long Island. And then I got a degree in teaching. Oh, yeah, my teaching degree was first, but I didn't do well as a teacher. The kids said bye to the class, so I ran teaching. I mean, honest to goodness. And then I became a counselor. I got my degree in counseling and became a counselor. Let's see what else I did. Then I became a chiropractor. And then I just kept evolving. Now I see myself as an international speaker and as a guide, a strategic advisor helping women step into their best life,
And
get
that's
beyond
what's
themselves.
happening. And that's what's happening for you right now.
Right,
Is you're meeting new people. You're thinking of a new move, maybe up here to Joshua Tree or the area. That sounds good.
Yeah. So I turned my life experience, which has been huge, and my training into ways to help people overcome limiting beliefs, limiting blocks, to activate their calling and to remember it and then to learn how to listen to it and implement it.
Tell me about your book. What's the name of your book and where can people get it?
So the book is called The Miracle Makers Club. Expect Miracles Daily, Manifest Miracles Daily, something. I just rewrote it and it's a second edition. So it has all this new and juicy information and you can find it on Amazon. It's called The Miracle Makers Club, Manifest
And what's your
Miracles
next
Daily.
event?
My next event is on Wednesday, March 18th, and it's called Strategic Discernment, how to really make decisions with grace and ease. It's for people who are in transition, who want more clarity, who want to learn how to trust that voice within and be more aligned. And so I'm offering that next week.
That's great. Are you channeling that information or do you have something already written? How are you bringing that in?
Well, the information that I brought in, some of it comes from years of experience actually helping people learn how to discern. So it's not like I haven't taught things like this. I'm just bringing it all together now. But most of my teachings I'm given, it's too easy for someone like me to just sort of somehow think that what you just said is mine. So I try not to, I really try not to see what other people are doing so much. So I'm more of a pure channel.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is you're an empath.
I'm an
Do-
empath, yes.
Yeah,
I'm a pure empath, yes.
that is challenging. I am too. So it's challenging.
Well, it is challenging in a lot of ways because we pick up a lot of information. And, I taught this class on intuition back in 2020. And one of the things I remember just telling everyone, which is true, when we go into the supermarket, say, you as an empath, we can walk by the meat department and suddenly not feel great. And it's not the meat, it's because the couple before that walked by before us had a fight and we're just picking it up. So I actually have a good tool. And those were the days, you might have had to wear a mask if you did too, but I tried never to do that. But what I would do when I go out in the world, if I knew I was sensitive, which I am, I learned to hum. So I just go around and I hum. And that seems to keep me far more balanced than other things that I could do. It keeps me more centered inside. Try it. You go out in the world, go to if you have to go to a mall where there's so much energy and you're walking, you're by yourself, just start humming and you'll see. The other thing I do when I do things like that is I fluff my wings. So I do teach something called wing fluffing, which is how to fluff your wings so that you feel bigger than normal. You feel like you're in your higher fifth dimensional avatar self, say, and you walk into the mall or your party or your Starbucks, But instead of feeling like your little self, you feel your wings are back, your shoulders back. And people notice. They say they notice you. They notice the energy that's coming off of you. And
Yeah.
so I have a policy is like I make a difference wherever I go. I don't do it on purpose, but people do notice me. The more I fluff my wings, the more they notice. So the kinder I become. It's just my nature, you know?
It's a great way to live life. I'm all for that.
Well, Hillary, okay, when I come up, we'll go into Starbucks or the
And
coffee shop and fluff our wings and do an experiment together. Have someone recording us. This is going to be our TikTok reel. Yes, Joan and Hillary go experiment to see, can people see their wings?
The other day, well, today is Monday. I think it was Friday or Saturday. Saturday. I woke up with this simple pleasure. And I did a whole writing on it, and it really taught me something about just appreciating what's all there and not having to try to get anywhere or do anything. And I felt so good. And I went out to the farmer's market and stopped at a restaurant, and I met people everywhere I went. So to me, that was like fluffing my wings.
That was fluffing your wings.
I met friends that I will be in touch with. I met a dog that I had a conversation with. He came right over and gave me love, and it was just an amazing couple of hours of
Because you
meeting
set your
people.
intention. You set a positive intention. The universe wants to support us, wants us to have it.
Yeah. So how can people find you? What's your email website?
So you can find me at joanofangels.com. You can find me on Instagram at Joan of Angels. Facebook, Joan of Angels. So you can find me out in the world, YouTube, Joan of Angels. So I've embraced my name. And if you go to my website, you'll find something called the Soul Vision Clarity Call. And that's a complimentary call. You can set up the appointment with me, and we go through what might be happening for you now. And then I'll make some recommendations. It's not therapy. It's not a reading. It's not a deep dive session that you're going to come out and your whole world is solved. No, it's a way to clarify what's going on for you, give you a few touch points of support, and then give you some ideas of different strategies to heal or ways that I can help you. And so I'll sit with you and give you the opportunities you have in working with me. And people do like working with me because I just have a unique perspective, I think.
That's great.
And I've had 45 years of helping people.
I just want to make sure we really got an understanding of how you got your name, Joan of Angels.
I was wondering, I'm thinking she doesn't have an understanding yet, but
I
you
do.
true to form, you came up with it. Okay, yes. So the way I got my name is that in 2013, on a next evolution of a turning point for me, Halloween 2013, after I had started plant medicine ceremonies that I had gone to, my angels, my guides said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. Now I was begging for a miracle. I wanted cash. And they said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. And I go, oh no, that's so much work. It smells. And I said, no. And then they said it again. And then they said it the third time. The third time, they also let me know that they were not going to ask again. And that's when I realized that this could be life-changing. It's not coming in the way I expected or wanted, but perhaps if I do this, it could open the doors to my next phase. So they wouldn't tell me what I would do with all the art, nothing, just to paint. So I did. And I put the art up on the wall of the loft, it became an angel loft. Book falls off the bookshelf, opens to this page called Your Call for Angelic Assistance Has Been Heard. So that was the beginning of me becoming a paintbrush for the divine. And at some point, they told me to move to the desert so I could hear. So I picked up and moved to the desert. And on my second day here, I was having breakfast with a friend from LA who knew someone here. It was, she was going to introduce me. And we're sitting there, cafe down the street here. You might have even eaten there. And she looks at me. She said, well, what did you say your name was? And I start to go, well, Dr. Joan Hangarter. She says, say nothing. And when she did that, the room went quiet, dead quiet, just for me, like I was in a bubble. And she said, I know who you are. You're Joan. It was just like that, of angels. And I swear I heard the Hallelujah chorus. That's how I got the name. And then I spent the next 7 years stepping into the name and the power of that name and what it really means. So my next book is going to be From Joan of Arc to Joan of Angels.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I know. We need that. We need that. Too many Joan of Arcs.
Well, From Joan of Arc to Joan of Angels.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What a pleasure to talk to you and meet you. That happened very, easily.
Yesterday.
Yeah, easily. So thank you very much. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Yeah. So learning how to listen to your intuition, learning how to trust it, learning how to receive these messages just takes a little bit of practice. That's all. It's an art form to master, and anyone could do it. It's easy. It's just a matter of learning to listen. So I work privately with people, with women, to really help you learn how to clarify where you're going, what you need, what's your next best step. What is that book you've been holding on to that wants to come out? What is it that's calling? And we use the word, Hillary, you and I started with the word calling, and it is what's calling you, that voice in underneath it all that wants you to hear. And reach out, book a complimentary call. We'll see what's going on for you and what your best next steps are.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Fun interview, great interview, Hillary.
Thank you, Joan. And thank you, listeners. I've been talking with Dr. Joan Hangarter, also known as Joan of Angels, about intuition, discernment, change, and how we learn to listen for what is calling us. Many of us are being asked to step forward now, to live closer to what we know, to embody our deeper calling, and to help create the kind of world we want to live in. But that kind of life requires something from us. It asks us to listen more carefully, trust more deeply, and act with greater honesty. Joan's work focuses on helping people do just that. If you want to learn more about Joan and her work, you can find her online at Joan of Angels, and links to her are in the show notes and the Substack. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it, subscribe, and join me again for another episode of Driftwood Conversations. I'm Hillary Sloan, and thank you for being here.